Hey there, this is the Stupendous Marriage Podcast. I am Stu Gray.
I'm Lisa Gray.
I just wanted to let you know, before we get into answering our question for today, I was interviewed by Jay Parker and Chris Taylor on the Knowing Her Sexually podcast. They are talking to husbands in marriage ministry this season on their podcast. And we got to talk about a lot of different things. Some of my story and Lisa's story, the challenge of honesty, and, my simple insight that women are different than men. You can hear that whole conversation when you go to khsministry.com, or you can find Knowing Her Sexually podcast on any podcast player. All right, let's get to our question. We're not married yet, but we're trying to get all the advice and wisdom about marriage we can before we say, I do. What do you think is the most important conversation or discussion we can have before we are married?
What did you think? What popped in your head?
Nothing initially popped in my head. I was like, there's so much.
Well, that's my problem is
How do you narrow it down to one thing?
Yeah, I'm like, money, sex, in-laws, kids.
I know, exactly. I know. It was like a list. It was not like one conversation.
But you know what? Actually, now that I say that out loud, communication is a big thing because all those things are wrapped around that. How do we communicate? How do you hear me? How do I hear from you best? How can I say things in a way to help you understand, maybe even getting into each other's childhoods? Because that's been a big thing for you and I lately, has been thinking about how our parents taught us as kids or what we saw from our parents.
Sure.
And starting to unpack that a little bit to where you're better equipped to understand where your future spouse is coming from.
Premarital counseling is awesome because it opens your eyes. It makes conversations happen. Pastors or a counselor leads you through these tough discussions. What are you going to do with money? How have you handled money in the past? What do you think about sex? What baggage are you bringing into the relationship? Kids, want them, don't want them, how many, when, what time, how important is business, how important is family, where are you going to be spending Christmas and Thanksgiving and 4th of July, and, are you going to bounce back and forth? You know what I mean? So the time in premarital counseling to open your eyes to that is really important. Something we did that first year we were married, we read Purpose Driven Life.
Yeah.
And that was really helpful for us. It was just something we did together. Our church was going through the 40 Days of Purpose at the time. That was really big, that study. And so we read the book together, and we learned a lot about each other and ourselves through that time, too. 40 days. You can find another book. There are tons of great marriage books that you can go through and read and answer questions and learn about and have conversations with your to-be spouse about.
Yeah. The thing that came to my head that is really important to discuss is expectations, because we always talk about that. That's like the number one thing in communication in all those categories. What is your expectation for how we'll handle money? What's your expectation with our sex life? What is your expectation of where we'll spend the holidays? First of all, don't get overwhelmed with all this, please.
Right.
But just do one thing at a time. Doing the premarital counseling, I think, is huge because that really gives you someone to guide you so you don't get overwhelmed. A lot of times they go through the different subjects and it's like several weeks meeting with the pastor. It's not just a one-day class. So I think that would be really, really good. And then also just not stressing about it. Marriage is amazing and wonderful, stressful and hard and all those things, maybe sometime in 1 hour.
Yeah, really.
You know what I mean?
Really.
So understanding you're not going to be able to do everything in preparation. You just have to learn as you go somewhat, but definitely doing the premarital counseling would be a great idea.
And just my other thought real quick is that a marriage is more than the wedding day.
Yeah.
And thinking longer term than just, a couple hours and a service and reception and wedding night. That's beautiful and wonderful, but it's a day.
Yeah.
And you have the rest of your life with this person. So you need to prepare for the marriage more than the wedding.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Wow.
Once again, that is really why it's important to talk about this stuff, really important to think about, have conversations, but think about the marriage.
Man, that's just such a strong statement because that's not the way it is in our society.
Nope.
Everybody spends a lot of money and time and energy stressing over one day and 2 hours, and they very rarely spend any time on planning for the next 50 years, hopefully.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So that's why this is a great question. This is awesome going into your marriage that you're thinking about that stuff. And sure, have a beautiful wedding. Have an amazing wedding day. Really, it's an awesome celebration. It should be a beautiful celebration, but it's one day.
Yeah. Well, good luck. We can't wait to hear how you guys are doing.
Email us back after you get married. Let us know how it's going. You can send us your own question on Twitter @StuGray is the best way to find us right now. Talk to you next time.
See ya.